זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע.
Well, hello, welcome to the practical portion. I am Charlie Brown. Yes, that's my name. And I love bringing the practical life applications to our weekly portion. And this week we're going to jump into Yitro or Jethro. The portion we're going to start in Exodus 18:1. See how far we get. It goes all the way to 2023. So grab your coffee, grab a notepad. If you're watching the replay, anyone else, if you catch some of this, you're like, oh, I missed it. You can go to my YouTube channel. I am Charlie Brown. That might change, but that's all they would give me right now. So, but you can find, I've been posting the replays there so that you can share them. And I'm just blessed. I'm blessed. It's a cozy day today. I hope and pray that you're cozy. And Father, we thank you. We come before you and we thank you for your word. We thank you for the life. No matter how many times we've read it, new life comes out and it changes us and it makes us better so that we can serve others all around us and be your hands and feet. And I pray this day that I can rightly divide this word because I'm excited. So this is, seems like a crazy name to me. Like, we're calling this parsha was named Yitro, and of course that's what we're going to talk about. But this parsha is about has the 10 words in it. It's like, what? Why isn't this called the 10 Commandments? Why isn't the 10 words? I don't know. It's called Yitro. I didn't make the rules. I didn't come up with it. But here we start. We start this Yitro, Jethro. We know that he is the father-in-law of Moses. And I love it that it starts out saying, and he heard what Elohim had done. Now we know that he's a distance away, and I really will encourage you every week, grab out those pull to the back of the Bible if you have one that has the map on it, and go back so that you can see, now where are they? Now where are they? And go through those maps, because it makes a difference to actually have a geographical understanding of what's happening. Where are things? Even as you're looking into the Brit Hadashah or the New Testament, as you're understanding, for them to go here to here, where do these people live? It really does make a difference. And I'm going to share that with you because this year, that's where I'm living. I'm loving living and learning the geography of things and learning about the land and where things were. So I hope that it blesses you or puts a little spark under you then to do the very same thing. So people are talking. They gave him something to talk about, let's give him something. No. So they gave him something to talk about. The Holy One shook things up in the land of Mitzrayim in Egypt. He did some things and people are talking about it, so much so that Yitro heard about it, and he brings back his wife and his sons to him. He says that, I love in this part also, he says, for Moshe and his people, the things he had done in the word, it says, and he heard, and I'm reading out of the scriptures this year, and he and his father came and he heard all that Elohim had done for Moshe and for Yisrael, his people. He heard everything that he'd not only done just for Moshe. Right here, Yitro is acknowledging that he did it for his people. So mission accomplished. The goal in Mitzrayim not only was to birth this nation, but he was putting his hand on it. Like he was wanting them to say, you are my people. Let my people go. Not let Moshe's people go. Let my people go. This is the Holy One saying that. So mission accomplished. They let the people, not only were the people let go, but people like Yitro heard about it and they called him his people. So Zipporah gets to come back. His sons get to come back. We have a wife. We have 2 boys. Might be a parallel somewhere there. Let's think about this a little bit later. And last week, I just want to go back and remember that we met the Holy One as Jehovah Rapha, and at the very end, Moshe acknowledges him as Jehovah Nisi. I think that's cool. I think it's cool if we keep track of that. Like, who is he saying he is in these moments? So let's set the stage a little bit. Okay, they've just finished fighting Amalek. They just finished that fight, and they're encamped. It says in verse 5, they're encamped around the mountain of the Lord. And then now he runs out. They're camped out there, and he hears that he's coming, and then he sees him, or some messengers come. So he runs out. It says he runs out to meet Yitro, and he says he kisses him, and then asks how things are. Like, they just, hey, what's going on? They catch up. Not any big talk, not about what had just happened, because it says later he took him into the tent, told him what's what, right? Took him into the tent and gave him the deets. He's like, here's what happened. But I laugh as a woman, okay? As a woman, I'm hearing this. If my husband, whom I haven't seen for years, comes running out and grabs my father and kisses him and starts chatting with him, you hear nothing. We don't hear, oh, and he grabbed Zephora and the boys or whatever. No, it was like all about Yitro. This is all about her father, his father-in-law. And I don't know if you have in-laws, but not all of us have felt that way about our in-laws. Not all of us have wanted to run up and grab and kiss them. So maybe he looked for the wisdom in him, and he acknowledged who he was, and he acknowledged the respect of who he was. And I don't know, as a woman, I was a little like, why is Yitro getting all the attention? So, and then we hear Yitro saying, he's acknowledging in this section, he says he's acknowledging that Elohim is the mighty one. And then it says he brings him a korban olah, this ascent offering, this korban olah. He's bringing this approach offering. And later we'll talk about this in Leviticus 1. If you know me, you know me, how much I love, love, love that section. I love talking about the korbanats, the way that we get close to the Holy One, the way that we approach him. And in this, he brings that korban olah, which I believe, and I think it's part of our will. He's bringing it to say, you are everything. Thy will be done. Like, this is what's going on. And then the very next day, Yitro gets up and looks for Moshe. He's like, where is he? He goes and finds him, and he sees him sitting in this place, his judgment seat, and people are lined up, it says, all day long with their problems. All day long with the rules according to the laws of Elohim, it says. And it says Torah. Wait a minute. We'll talk about this another time, but so Moshe knows about all this stuff. It's already been given. He's sharing now the things of the Lord with him. This is who he is. This is how things are to be done. Okay? That he's sharing things not according to his will, but according to what the Father's will is. And Yitro comes in, he's like, what are you doing? Now, I'm gonna skip over something and go to the way I've always taken this in, because I believe there's a parallel going on here, and I have a teaching that I remember from Aleph Beta that was phenomenal on this. But I'm going to scooch down on my notes here. I want to talk about, because I think that first I want to hit this. I felt like when I was praying about this morning that somebody here, somebody who's listening now or later or whenever you're listening, someone needed to hear, you're going to wear yourself out. You're going to wear yourself out. Whatever's going on right now in your life, you are wearing yourself out for no reason. He didn't call you to this. And you, if you know me, that I'm always talking about control issues. I'm recovering control freak. The book, It's Not Why We to Pull, is just about to be finished. I'm all about control. But what happens with us, and I think it's men and women, is that we think we're the only one who know. Like, we have something, we have a word, or we have an understanding, or we have knowledge and wisdom in an area, and we think we're the only one who knows that. So then what happens is we take it all on ourselves because we think, well, if I don't do it, no, who else is going to do it? Nobody else could do it better. Or maybe it's not even could do it better, but nobody who else is going to do it. And I don't know what Moshe is thinking. I do not know. I wasn't there. However, I can tell you where I've been in the similar situations as a leader, whether you're leading your home in times when I was just me leading my home, as a single mom, just me leading my daughter, as a time when I'm leading women's groups, as a time when I'm leading congregations as a pastor, as a time now as I'm leading international organization, the Rooted Cafe, as a time, you get what I'm saying? There's times when you're in leadership in different levels, but you're still in leadership, and we take on this thing where we think that we're the only one who knows how to do it, or we just haven't taken the time to sit down and think about, is there a different way to do it? Well, it's nice to see that Yitro comes in, and Jethro, he says, wait, what are you doing? You're going to wear yourself out. And he wasn't the only one. He might have, Moshe thinks that he's the only one who can handle it, but is this really what he's called to do? He's been calling to lead, not to judge. He's been called to do other things, and sometimes we'll sit and get caught up in the things that are not essential, and in the part of being these unessential or non-essential things. Not that this wasn't important, but it wasn't his calling. And are you caught up in something right now that is taking you off the wall? And Yitro says to him, you will wear yourself out. This matter is too heavy for you. Have you been involved in something where people have called you off the wall? You know you have a calling. You know you have a purpose. You know there's things you're supposed to do, but people keep grabbing onto you and pulling you off the wall to deal with some drama, to deal with some things, and this matter is too heavy for you. It's gotten too much, because then what happens is you're trying to climb. Now you finish dealing with this, and then you're like, okay, now what was I doing? Okay, you climb back up the wall, and you start to, while you're climbing up the wall, you realize that what you had just done is now crumbling down because you didn't have a chance to seal it properly because you were trying to go down to help them. And then you have to, like, now where's my tool? Now where did I leave off? Now all this time just to get started again. And once you get going good again, guess what? Hey, can you help me? And you get pulled back down again. Hey, can I just have a second? Which is never the case, right? Hey, even just for a second, you have to climb down. People aren't intentionally doing it. You have to climb down. You have to climb back up. I put my phone on do not disturb. I had a big project the last couple days. My phone was actually in the other room, and I told people if they need me, it's an emergency that they needed to call my husband and that he would come get me. But otherwise, I was in like lockdown monk mode. I was like, that's it. I have to focus. This has to get done. And it got done at like 11:42 last night. It got done, but it got done. And I meet a 12 midnight deadline. But are you getting called down off the wall? Are you? And if we go on and we keep on in this section, he says in here, we'll hear later when he tells them that I have bore you up on eagle's wings. So we're going to come back to that. But I want to say, I've been chatting with people that I'm coaching or friends that are also in leadership positions, and I've talked to them about that. Stay on the wall. And we're going to be hearing about this a lot. Stay on the wall. The second thing I'm saying a lot is you're an eagle. An eagle belongs in the sky. An eagle belongs swooping down to get live, fresh meat. They're coming to get fresh meat to bring it back to their babies. They're called to only a specific thing, their partner. They have specific work to do, an eagle. An eagle, however, a lot of you that are eagles, that are out there leaders, and you know you've been called, this is not a pride thing. This is just because you know you've been called to more. You're spending a lot of time down in the chicken coop with the chicken poop. So you're down there in the middle of all the stuff trying to handle everybody's things, and you're an eagle. You don't belong down there in there. Now you have to jump back up and try to find another high place to go out and fly. So I want to talk to my eagles today. Stay an eagle. Get out of the chicken coops. You don't belong there. You eat different food. You live differently. Your wings are too big to be in there. You've outgrown the coop. You're not in there anymore. You can love all those people and you can protect them from the air, from the hawks. You can do those things, but you're not protecting them from down in the middle of the coop. I don't know who that's for, but I need you to grab that because I know a couple friends out there. You need to hear it again. And stay on that wall. The wall needs you. That wall needs to be rebuilt. And there's people well-meaning are going to try to pull you off. Yitro is saying these people are well-meaning. There's people coming and they're needing issues. And what it's saying is he was judging it according to the word of the Holy One. It wasn't saying he was trying to in his own wisdom or his own, but it was out of his own physical power. But he was trying to share with them the word. And what Yitro tells him to do is you can't do it by yourself. That's in verse 18. So what he tells him to do is I want you to train some people. Train them up in the word. I want you to train everybody. Everybody needs to know the word. And we're going to see the rest of this story. That's what Moshe's doing, right? Is training. In Deuteronomy, he begins to go over it again so that the new people going into the land are going to hear it again. They're going to know it. But he starts telling them, I want you to train the people so that they can actually do it. And then you're training them. I want you to pull people out. This is discipleship model. And instantly I thought, some of you who have littles in your home and you're like freaking out because you have, oh my gosh, there's so much to do and I'm so overwhelmed and it's wearing me out. It's time to make some little disciples. It's time to show them how to do some things. You would be shocked what a 2-year-old can do. You would be shocked at how young they can start folding towels and learning how to do those things. My daughter was doing laundry at 5 or 6. Not because she was like she wanted to, but I mean, it wasn't child labor. She needed to participate in the family because that's what we do. Doing it all on your own is not his plan. You're out of order. Great Loyola Luvis is on our team, and she's an amazing parenting coach. And I know one of the things she has is the chart she helps parents put together. And a lot of it is getting kids, they should be helping prep their food for the next day, as far as if they're going to school or even homeschooling. They're prepping out their school and their snacks. You shouldn't be doing everything. Those are things that they can do. You are called to hire things to oversee all of it, but not to have to do all the little things. Okay, so I just felt like I need to release some people. So everyone, we're just going to shake it off. We're going to release some of the things that maybe we have been holding on to. Let's shake your wings off. Let's get the stuff from the chicken coop that's fallen on you and jump up and be an eagle so you can actually see from that bird's eye view, not from a chicken's eye view. You want to be from that bird's eye view, see what's going on. So if you're doing it all, I want to encourage you to just get trained. If it's in work, if it's in ministry, if you're taking it all on. I am so blessed that I have such an amazing team. And you know how hard it was at first? It was mine. It's mine. But to let things go. And now I have women who are taking care of a couple, who are taking care of a few, who are taking care of many, and only the important things get to me. I'm not dealing with all of the little stuff anymore. And it's not wearing me out anymore. I think it's time to gather up and train. So I'm encouraging you, I've been calling you out to gather up, whether it's your family, it's time to gather them up, train them in how it's supposed to be done. Just like Moshe, he said, train them on how to do it, train them on what they need to know. So you need to train them how to do the laundry. You might have to set it all out for them ahead of time, but eventually they're going to get it. Train them how to load and unload the dishwasher, how to rinse the things, how to take the trash out. Everyone should have jobs because there's no reason for you to be wearing yourself out. And at work, I need you to call in all my control freaks. It's time to let it go. Because first they need to know the ways themselves. So then that way they can deal with it. Again, then the larger issues, he says, then you're going to set up judges. And then there's a chain of command. I grew up in a military home with my dad, a Marine. Then I went into the military. I went into the Air Force. And there's a chain of command. You don't have someone taking care of all the things because it will wear them out. Many of you, we go through this portion in this Parsha, and we kind of go over this every year because this is important. And he tells them that what has to happen here is don't get caught up in doing all the things. I don't think I need to beat this to death, right? And then it says Yitro leaves and he doesn't go on with them. And that's always been a struggle. I love to hear what you've heard and what some of your commentary on that is that he leaves. He doesn't stay with the promised land. You know, sometimes there's people that are in our lives for just a season. Sometimes they either don't see the vision to go along or they're not called to go to that. They were just called for a season to do a certain thing. And they may have just been there to drop an idea and just that one idea to lift the burden. And then they left and you're like, oh, why'd they leave my life? I want to go to a different concept on this. So I'm going to, again, let me see if I can find my note on it. So let's rewind. Oop, let's rewind back to this when Yitro comes to Moshe and he says, "This is lo tov," and this is again, this is I'm going to borrow liberally from the teaching on Aleph Beta because it was so phenomenal. It wasn't Rabbi Foreman; it was one of the other guys on there, but I remember. But he's saying this is lo tov, and you're thinking where the word lo tov for me, it's always meant the same. It's wait, I go back to Genesis to the Genesis story. Oh wait, pretty much everything does, right? Go back to the Genesis story, and he says, God says this is lo tov, meaning this is not fruitful and it can't multiply. Everything that he said this is good or tov, meaning that it's operating in its intended function and it's fruitful and it can multiply. And for Adam, he says this is lo tov, and so it's not good. It's lo tov for man to be alone. So I need to make for him an ezer kenegdo. He didn't make for him. He didn't say I'm going to make for him a beloved or an ish. The verbiage in there is ezer kenegdo, and we talk about this often. The verbiage is important here because I'm gonna throw something at you and let you chew on it because I'm going to try to build this parallel that I remember him speaking about. So it says it's not good for man to be alone. What does Yitro say in the same thing? Moshe, this is lo tov, same verbiage. It's not good, same verbiage for you to be alone. Same verbiage is happening. So is there a parallel? Maybe. Maybe there's a parallel. And the reason I want to say this is because it's a random thought, but is even if you think about Yitro bringing his wife and two sons, I mean, we say, God brought Adam a wife and before later more sons, but we hear of two sons. I don't know. That's on a limb, but there is a parallel, and I do believe that there is a parallel. So what what did he need to be? What did he need to accomplish to not be alone like Adam? So Adam needed this azer kenegdo. Why did he need this opposing force? The word azer kenegdo, an opposing force. Why did he need that? Because being in the garden, Adam is in this garden and he's in charge of everything. He's naming the animals, he's taking care of, he's tending, he's doing all the things. And then it says, but don't eat of this tree. And it's interesting that right after that, it goes straight into, and then he saw Lo Tov and he brought him a partner. Now, there could be a connection, that the reason he needed him to bring an Ezer Kenegdo, an opposing force to him, was because he needed help not eating from that tree, which is interesting because that's exactly what happened. But stay with me. He brings this opposing force to him. Why? Because that fruit wasn't just about knowledge of good and evil. It was about there's a temptation when you're alone to suddenly feel like you're more powerful than you are, or to take on the credit, or to feel that you're the one who judges and has all the knowledge and the understanding of things, and it's not him because you're alone and it's all following. I can tell you on my own, there have been many times when I have been alone in a leadership position and for a brief moment did not have an accountability. Now, I truly believe that accountability brings stability. So in my life, I have every time it was possible brought in a team of people who I'm accountable to. Now I understand the wisdom in that even more so. The wisdom is this: Adam's there. There was a temptation for him to think that he was the one who's in charge and he's the one who's all powerful and he's the one who had the knowledge of good and evil of what's happening. It wasn't the tree. It was that he wasn't. It was only the Holy One would eat of the fruit of that. It wasn't for Adam or Eve to do for them to do that. This opposing force, what we do as opposing forces, is it was to keep accountable. Now, for me, like currently, like I have a board. It started out in the Rooted Cafe where we're in 3 years. It started out, it was just me. It was just me, and then it was Sydney. Then it was me, and it was Sydney, and it was Jen Doobie came in, and then Jen Doobie came in, and then Crystal Welch came in, and then we added other people. Now we have over 50 women who are in there teaching and running things. There was a process that was going on that I had to be accountable. There's people that were working super closely with me with the hard stuff and decisions that were going on. And now over the last year, we have put in a board. We've put in a board last year, and now we're a year old in this board because there has to be someone bigger than me who I'm accountable to, so that I don't try to eat that fruit. That I'm not going in between people coming to me and needing knowledge and needing understanding and needing me to weigh things out for them and me to judge things as I'm combing through and doing. Are you guys seeing the parallel with Moshe? What's going on as they're coming? That there could be a temptation to eat of that fruit. So, the verse maybe is hyperlinking in your head to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge him. Don't eat of that fruit. In all your ways, even in your home, it's my home. It's my things. It's my way. It's how I want to do it. And when something's happening, you're the judge and jury. And it's very tempting to eat from that fruit. But in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Because doing it in your own, if you lean on your own understanding, and if you build the house, you labor in vain unless you're acknowledging him. And if you're a single person or a single mom, I highly encourage you to have the Yitros in your life. Whether it's the friends that you give permission, I need you to speak into my life because I need an Azer Kenegdo to be an opposing force to me. Husbands and wives, be each other's opposing forces, so that it says later, we'll read, he says, so that you don't sin. But the other thing is so you don't wear out, because you're sitting in a seat that you are not equipped for. And it could be a control issue. I don't know. But we see there is a parallel. And I'm going to give you that homework just to go in and try it all. So let's move on. Okay. So then Yitro leaves. He doesn't stay. And then in chapter 19, we reach the wilderness of Sinai. Need a drink. Hold on. We reach that wilderness of Sinai. All right. So 19, we reach the wilderness of Sinai. And in verse 4, I wrote red letter. I think it's really fun that in a lot of our mine doesn't. I'm using this version new this year, but a lot of versions that I have, and you probably have, I want to know, let me know right now if you have the version. It's a red letter edition. Can someone tell me? Put in your notes, put in your comments, put in the chat, wherever you're listening. If you're watching YouTube, put it down. Yes, I have the red letter. I want some comments and feedback. So with any of the words of Yeshua, Jesus, they're in red. And I have a friend who wrote a book, and all it is just the red letters. So what's interesting to me is we have chapter 19 of Exodus, verse 4, and it's the Holy One, creator of the universe. And it's not red letter. This is red letter, y'all. It's red letter. Moshe goes up the mountain, and the Holy One speaks to him. He says, tell them. So he says, tell us, tell me, tell you. The Holy One tells Moshe, tell Charlie, tell you, fill in your blank, your name. When you're reading these, if you can put your name in there, it's very personal. And he says, and I want to read it because this is red letter from the Holy One himself. It says, you have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and I brought you to myself. He took them out and he brought them right here into this camp, right there, under his wings, right? And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, right? Shema, Shamar, Asah, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Yisrael. Those are the children that the children of Israel need to hear. The first time that he's deliberately speaking from this mountain, he's telling Moshe that I want you to tell them, if you're going to guard and keep all the things that I'm doing, if you will get close, if you'll guard and keep it, then I'm going to make you special. I'm going to set you apart. All those things. He says, tell them who they are. Tell them who they are. Tell them whose they are. Why would this have to be this way? Because we have slave mentality people, Egyptian people, 400 years engrossed, intertwined, generations are intertwined into a way of life. It's who they are, but it's not who they are. And no longer do they belong to Pharaoh. They need to know now who they belong to. The kingdom of heaven is now. It's here. We see Yeshua came back and he's saying the kingdom of heaven is now. Can I tell you today, the kingdom of heaven is now. And he wants you to know who you are. Do you know who you are? No, or have you been so engrossed and intertwined in Mitzrayim of your life, in the generations, in an identity? Is there an identity that you've taken on your whole life, and that's who you think you are? You even tell everybody, well, this is who I am. This is just who I am. Sorry, it's who I am. I love me a good personality test. I love all that. However, that's not who I am. I am who he says I am. They needed to, this is the very first reminder, and that's what's going to be happening all through the rest of this, is him telling them lovingly, this is who you are. Now, let's go back. He says he bore them up on eagle's wings and brought them unto himself. Now, that's a beautiful picture, and those of you who love studying about eagles, you understand. Why does an eagle when does an eagle bear anything up on its wings? Can someone tell me? I want to see if there's notes. When does an eagle put anything on its back, up on its wings, and bear something up and take it up and bring it unto itself? When does that happen? So it happens, for those of you who don't know, it happens when baby eagles, it's time for them to fly. The toys get taken away because eagles are the only ones who create toys for their babies. Then they start pulling the stuffing out of the nest. Oh, it's not comfortable. Oh, wait, that's a lot of like what happened in Mitzrayim. He started taking things away. He started really making it uncomfortable. This isn't the place you want to be. And then what happens is that mama eagle, one of the reasons that when in the courting that the mama eagle will throw a big old log or something down, it's her weight, but it's her weight or the weight of the babies. I think it's her weight, so that she knows she can carry, because when they're mating, they have to be able to mate in the air, and she wants to know that he can carry her. But the other thing is, she also wants to know that he can catch those babies. So that's part of the mating ritual, is her dropping something and him catching it, because she wants to make sure, can you take care of my babies? When she drops them out of the nest, they're learning how to fly. What are you doing? And they're free falling down. And just before they hit that rock, just before they hit the bottom, that eagle will mount those babies up on its wings and take them back up. And it starts over and over again until they learn how to fly, until they realize that they're an eagle, until they realize that they're not meant to sit in a little nest and just wait for people to feed them. They're not meant to sit there going, waiting for something to show up, to play with their little toys and to stay comfortable in their padded little area. They're meant to jump out into the turbulence and fly. They're meant to get out there and to do hard things. They're meant to get out there and get their own fresh live meat, so then that they can bring it to others and feed others. Their own babies, their own things given to them. But they'll never know it unless they're pushed out and they're made to learn how to fly. And I believe that that's what he's saying. He's saying, I mounted you up on eagle's wings because I'm throwing you out in a wilderness. And I'm going to keep picking you back up because you're not going to stay in that comfortable nest. Can I speak that to you now? Have you gotten too comfortable? Have you gotten too comfortable? And all of a sudden you're realizing things aren't so comfortable because he loves you so much. He's going to remind you who you are. And part of that might look like a wilderness. Part of that might look like a free fall. And part of it might look like him catching you at the last second and mounting you up on his wings and bringing you back. And the process starts all over again until you fly. And how do you learn how to fly? How do you do that? We know he says that I'm going to mount up with wings of eagles, right? Why? They that kavah upon the Lord, they that wait upon the Lord, they that get close, kavah, tightly bind and intertwine yourself with him. You are so close to him that you know what he's saying. You're shemaing, asaring, all the things. You're doing those. You're hearing it. You're obeying it. You are honoring it. You're guarding and protecting the things because you know who you are and you know whose you are. So you're walking in that. And when you do that, you don't get weary in well doing. You don't get weary the way that Yitro was saying, Moshe, you're going to get weary. You can't do this alone. You're going to get weary in this well doing. You need people to help you. You need to get close to him. That's your job, is to be getting close to him and letting all of them take care of what they're supposed to take care of. Do you know who you are? I mean, no, really. No, really. What is your identity rooted in? Is it your trauma? Is it your past? Is it who you've always thought you were? Or is it because he's told you who you are? You've heard it in his word. You know who you are because he's telling you, I'm setting you apart. Because if you really, 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 really knew who you were, what would that look like? What would that look like? Because I think it would look different. I think it would look different if you really knew who you were. Yeah. As we continue in this is marriage language. It's marriage language. This is the betrothal. This is the Holy One saying, if you will do this, then I'm going to do this. We keep going on. He says, and Elohim spoke to him by a voice and said, if they will, if they will. And everyone all together says, I do. If you read through this, can you read through this and see this as your groom, as the one who is the lover of your soul, who loves you unto death? Can you read this as if he's saying, here's my vows to you. This is who I want to be to you. And when you're all done, this is something I think every time we read this parsha that we get here, then we say, I do. Yes, yes, I can do this. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Thank you, Father, that you're going to do all those things. And yes, I will. Yes, simple thing. He's going to do all the heavy lifting, right? It's a vassar. I'm like, this is such an ancient Near East thing. It's this covenant, and I'm the weaker partner. It's vassar suzerain. I'm the weakest one here. He's going to do all the heavy lifting. He's saying, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do all these things. All you have to do is this: honor me. Keep your allegiance to me. Listen, guard, protect. Father, this year, I say I do. Father, show me where I'm not and where I'm failing. But this year, again, I want to renew my vows with you and say, I do. I do. Can you do that? Can you do that this week? Can you do that maybe this Shabbat even? Just spending some time alone with him. Get close. Get close and say, I do again. Renew those vows because he's saying all these things. It's marriage proposal. And I'm going to say, get ready. Say yes to the dress is coming in August 2023. I'm excited to do a teaching on the wedding ceremony and on the and its correlation with Yeshua at the Surge conference in 2023. If you have not got your tickets, you can reach out. They have a Facebook page, I believe, Surge Women's Conference. I think it's Unity, YOUNITY, maybe fitness.com is maybe there is the website that they use. I apologize. You guys can check out, but you can check out I know they have a Facebook page called Surge Messianic Women's Conference. So you can look for that on Facebook and get registered. Get registered. They may be already sold out. I don't know, but it's in August. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll be teaching on say yes to the dress, and then I'll be doing a breakout session on control, about being a control freak. So it'll be Controllers Anonymous, and we'll all come in and get to meet each other and walk through that together. So get ready though. Just like them, Moshe comes in and says, "Get ready, wash your clothes," because the Holy One's telling him, "Wash your clothes. Tell them to get ready, wash their clothes, because I'm coming down in 3 days." What? Get ready. Get ready. I'm going to come down before their eyes. Now make a border because you can't come too close to me. It's really interesting to me. I started seeing flashes of Yeshua when he came down when he arose after 3 days, that he told them not to touch him because he wasn't quite. Do you guys remember that? I haven't thought that process through, but it was just flashes coming to me today of him walking and saying, "Don't touch me," because he wasn't part of this world. It was like he was in between. And we hear him saying, they can't touch the mountain. They're going to get killed. And how scary is that? Can you imagine? Okay, everyone, I want you to get ready. You're going to go to your congregation on Saturday morning. So make sure you guys are clean, it's like, wait, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yes. Saturday, you're going to show up at your congregation, your fellowship, your church, wherever you're going. And when you show up, you're going to have clean clothes, get all ready, but you can't go past this one line in church. In the building, you can't go past this one line, because if you do, you'll die. And then you all get there, and all of a sudden you hear the shofar blowing super loud. Now, can you even imagine, especially if you don't know who he is yet? You haven't quite understood. You've seen the scary stuff he's been doing to the Egyptians, and now all of a sudden he's saying, "Come before me." Can you imagine? Can you just sit in that and say, that is so scary? I can't. He says, "Before their eyes, make a border." This is like crazy imagery of the Holy One coming down, the shofar's blasting, and then Moshe talks. Moshe says something, and then he says, Moshe talks, and then the Holy One answers by voice. That's what my translation says. And the Holy One answers. Moshe says something, and then the Holy One answers by voice. A lot of you, or maybe you haven't, but I know people who will say, "The Lord spoke to me." Well, God spoke to me and said, da, da, da. Well, I have never heard the audible voice of the Holy One. I've heard it in my spirit, like my inner spirit knew what he was saying, but I didn't hear it with my ears. I can't even imagine what that sounds like. What does his voice sound like? Like, what is it? What does it even sound like? Let me grab a little tissue. Excuse me a second. A little itch. Okay, there we go. And then he starts to speak, and Moshe goes up and says, and he says, no, go back down and remind them, don't come up. And Moshe's like, yeah, we got this. He's like, no, seriously, go back down. It's that serious. Until he cares about them that much to know that this is more than they can handle. So sometimes you have leaders that are called to do something, and you're wanting to follow them, and you're like, "Oh yes, I want to be like you. I want to do the things you do." And he's like, the Holy One's like, "You better tell them to stay back, because they can't handle this. Because you have gone through some things, and you're ready, because he's made you ready. You have ears to hear. He's put a special calling on you, or he's taken you through things to prepare you for this time, to be able to hear him and to be able to be in his presence, to be able to do some things." And other people maybe they're tempted to want to come up. And he's saying, "Go back down and tell them to stay and do what they're supposed to do. Everyone stay in your lane. If he hasn't called you to run up the mountain, don't run, because it might kill you. It might kill you because you're not ready yet." So he gets up this mountain, and he goes up the mountain, and the Holy One just starts to tell us, I'm going to say us, to tell you. Let's get really personal. He's going to tell you, brother, sister, who you are. And the words have been so misrepresented, I believe, as they're not 10 words, 10 commandments. But if you look in the Hebrew, it's the 10 words. It's the sacred words of empowerment. These are not, "Thou shalt not." That is not what it is. Please go in and do the research. Please look at it from the original language. It's not that hard. Go Blue Letter Bible and go in and look at each thing, and it does the work for you. We have a free class on the Rooted Cafe, the Blue Letter Bible for Not So Dummies, to show you how to do it. It really is not too hard. I promise you, anyone can do this. We make it very simple and show you how. But what he's saying is, this is who you are not. Now, when my daughter would do something, and even major things, one of the first things the Holy One would have come out of my mouth, because that's not what I wanted to say initially, but after prayer and getting close with him and listening to him, the first words it seemed like every time he had me say was, "This is not what defines you. This is not who you are." As we go through these words of empowerment, and we won't get through them all today, but I want you could go through and reread these, not as commandments of what you can't do. I want you to reread these as these are the 10 words of him speaking life over you. And he's saying, this is not who you are. This action is not something that will ever define you, because you are mine, and that does not define you. Every single year, I refer back to the Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. That little movie where Anne Hathaway's playing this little teenage girl, and she's going to a school, and she lives over a little studio over somewhere. She lives in San Francisco, and she's just a typical teenager going to the school, crazy frizzy hair, big eyebrows, just crazy girl. And one day a limousine pulls up, and Julie Andrews shows up, and she now finds out that she's actually a princess. She never knew that her dad was actually the prince of, I don't, what is it, Chernova or something, and that it's a made up country. And then, but Julie Andrews comes because her father had passed away and said, "You're it now. You are going to be queen. When I die, I have to now disciple you to come in. You need to actually take over the country." She had no idea who she was. She had no idea what that even looked like. And you see through the rest of this movie her going through learning how to walk, learning how to eat food a certain way, learning how to hold her fingers, learning how to sit, how to stand. She gets in what she should eat, not eat, how to chew. I mean, literally, you're learning how to be a new person because she had been disconnected from her calling. So she didn't know how to walk in it. And it would be very easy for someone to watch that process and see, well, that's mean. That's a lot of laws, and that's a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. But she's set apart. Do you really want a queen of a nation to come walking in all eating whatever, slobber, whatever, just which is that how you want as a representative, as an ambassador? Are you feeling it? Are you hearing what I'm saying? He's he's telling them who his ambassadors are to be and look like, because he's going to strategically locate them geographically, not because it's this powerful place. No, they should have been near a waterway. They should have been more near like the rivers. Like they should have taken over Egypt. That would have been like become the powerful nation. They could have stayed there and been powerful, just annihilate them, make it all grow back, and they stay there and they're super powerful. Or they can go to Mesopotamia, all along the rivers there. They have the Tigris and Euphrates, beautiful land. You have Babylon, right? You have these powerful nations. Why didn't he send them there? Because those are two nations on this side, but right in the middle, where all the trade routes come in, is Israel, where he sent the people. That was the promised land, so that not that they would be the powerful nation. It was so that they would impact nations, so that nations would come in as they were going through trade routes and see, oh, this is how you treat widows and orphans. Oh, this is the way that you are loving your neighbor. Oh, this is the way that you are doing things, because that even when Yeshua came back, he's like, you forgot how you're supposed to be impacting in this location. It is strategic. And that's where you are today. Are you impacting your sphere of influence? Or are you trying to be the great nation and eat of the fruit and take it all over? Or are you impacting those coming and going by showing them, this is not who I am? I do things different. I may eat a little differently. I may worship on a different day. I may do these things not because it's a law. It's a law. The law of sin and death had nothing to do with the Torah. Paul would be rolling in a grave if he knew that we were saying it was Torah. He was saying that the penalty, the condemnation that came along with it, that's gone. That's what Yeshua took away. But it doesn't change that that's not who you are. And as you go through these, and he's saying this is who you are. It's not a thou shalt not. And in 2020, it says he has where I start out. He has come to prove you not fear. Okay, so he says that when he says in there, he Elohim in 2020. I'm going to skip over the 10 words because I'll start. Well, let me start real quick. I have a few minutes. We'll start out with right. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, and you'll have no other gods before you. You have okay. It's not saying thou shalt not have no other gods before you. What it should feel like to you is he's saying, brother, sister, you're not someone who needs a lot of gods. All you need is me. Serving other things, putting things before me, putting things ahead of and eating of that fruit where you feel powerful or giving someone else power or bowing your knee to something else. You don't have to do that. That's not who you are. You just need me. I am everything for you. You'll never need anything else. Thou shalt not commit adultery. You are a sister, brother. You're not a person who has to sleep around with other people. That's not who you are. It's going to bring death to your situation. It's going to bring death. It's going to be death to your family, to that family, to so many things. And that's not who you are. You are the person who brings life to situations. Remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy. Thou shalt. You are people who rest when everyone else is worrying about production. That is going to be a major thing that's going to set you apart. Honoring your parents. That's who you are because that's who I've called you to be. Now, can you read through those commandments now and say, I think I see these a little differently? I don't murder. You're not someone who kills things. Not just that you don't murder with like literally. It doesn't say thou shalt not kill. Killing and murder are two different things, and there is a big difference. That's a whole nother day teaching. But you don't deliberately and maliciously set out to murder, to take the life out of someone. Can I tell you, you do it with your mouth? He's saying, brother, sister, that's not who you are. You are someone who brings my breath and my life into every situation. You're not someone who brings death and murder. That's not who you are. You don't steal. Why do you need to steal? You're a daughter and a son of the Most High King. You don't have to steal anything. That's not who you are. I have everything. I have everything. If you abide in me, if you get close, kavah, and my word abides in you. Oh, wait, isn't that what he's saying here? I want you to do these things. And you said, yes, I will. He says then, if you abide in me and my word abides in you, whatever you ask, it'll be given to you. You know what happens? I don't know about you, if you have children, when your children abide with you, they know the rules. They know what they can ask for that you're going to say yes to, right? And he's saying, if you abide with me, you're going to know my heart becomes your heart. You're going to want the things that I want for you. And of course, I'm going to say yes to that. So then when you ask expecting. You ask saying thank you with thanksgiving. You present your requests because you already know I'm abiding with you. You abide with me. Your word is in me. I know this is an alignment. It's an alignment that my family would walk in your ways and would bow their knee to you. Father, they would embrace you as Messiah. That's my goal and that's my heart's desire. I'm crying out to you. And the answer, I'm telling 100,000% to all of you is yes. Because that is the heart of my Father, because I live with him and I abide with him and I want to be close to him. And I know that I know from experience and from his word, the answer is yes. It is his will that none should perish and you and your house would be saved. So start thanking him for it and not begging for it. Thank you, Father. I can't wait to see how do I align with this until then. Make sure my mouth doesn't bring murder to anything until your will be done. Father, show me how to align with your will in this process because like this in 2020, and Moshe said to the people, do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you in order that his fear be before you so that you do not sin. The reason he's telling them to do all these things is to prove them. What does proving mean? It's like it's proving or testing the gold, getting the impurities out. It's to reveal who they are. The goal is to reveal his plan and purpose in their lives. He's there to prove them by adversity. Yikes, by stoking up the fire. Is that the mounting up on eagle's wings? Yeah, I think so. It's part of that. It's proving you, to teach you how to fly. He hasn't called you to be weak. He hasn't called you to sit there and let someone else feed you. He's called you to get out and fly. He's called you to get up out of the chicken coop and quit griping and complaining with everybody in your congregation and your family and your work. Get up and walk out. When that happens, be like, chicken coop, that's chicken coop and chicken poop. I'm out. Not kidding. You have to be set apart. Who's setting the tone in your atmosphere? Are you like Israel? Are people seeing you do things different and they go, oh yeah, we're not supposed to do that? Or are you so worried because you're like, no, I just want to be friends? That's Egyptian mentality. That was like in Babylon. Like, we're in the world, but not of it. Some of us are in your congregations and it's acting a little worldly, or your friendships, and you need to get out of it and not jump in the middle of it. It's chicken poop and you don't belong there. It weighs you down. It gets on your feet and everything, and you can't fly like you're supposed to. You cannot be the influence. And he's telling you right here, this is not who you are. It's not who you are. Nasa, I'm here to prove. Nasa, to prove with adversity. Why? So you can do hard things. Why? So you can run and not be weary, walk and not faint. Why? So that things don't get too heavy for you, because his yoke is light. It doesn't mean the work isn't hard sometimes, but the yoke is light. The burden, he helps carry it. But you got to do the work so you're strong. You got to do the work. And how do you do the work? He just tells us, how do you do this? Listen, guard, do what I tell you. And that's it. And he says he's teaching them how to kavah, right? How to get close. Why? So that they don't sin. He says, I'm doing all this before you so that you do not sin. So that you do not sin. So that you do not miss the mark. Chatat. It isn't, oh, I'm a bad person, I sinned. It's so that you don't miss the mark. The Torah is instructions that bring you closer. That his word is the thing that brings you and aligns you so you will hit the mark. He's saying, I'm going to tell you who you are and who you're not, so that you will hit the mark. If you're running around and you're, murdering people with your mouth, you will not hit the mark. You can't walk and be who you're called to be in the purpose, so that they could be the influence that they were called to be. He had to do this, and he had to prove them. And I pray that he blesses you this week as he proves you and as you study to show yourself approved. We'll see you next week.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך, והוא רואה, והוא שומע, ואכפת לו מכל דבר קטן. תדע לך שזו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
זה שיר פשוט, זה שיר קצר, אולי נשמע טיפה מוזר, אבל תדע, כי זו עובדה, שאלוהים אוהב אותך.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.